Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lindsay Sutherland Boal, the founder of She Walks Canada. Thank you for joining us for the Shamegrila Podcast. Today, I'm particularly excited because we have two awesome guests with us. Many of you probably know Julie Kirschke. She's one of our facilitators on, as it stands right now, Wednesdays and Sundays. And Julie and I met through friends and through the sober community, and she's been a very positive force to helping our community of women get through to the other side of their alcohol-reduced or alcohol-free lives. And in addition, we are joined by Julie's daughter, Kalla, who is here to share with us about their story together as Julie went from active addiction through to the recovery process, and particularly interested in both of their perspectives of the same story. So both Julie and Kalla, thank you so much for coming to the Shamegrila.
Thank you for having us.
Great. Okay. So let's just dive right on in.
I've had like years, decades probably of the journey, but I've had moments of sobriety. Obviously, it got really bad in the last 5 years.
What was life like for you when you were kind of at your worst, I guess, in your drinking habits?
Yeah. Well, I would say that it came about probably around the time when Kalla and her brother kind of didn't need me as much in their lives. Like it was kind of the point where they wanted to be more with their friends or they wanted to go out. And I honestly felt like my purpose had completely disappeared. And I just started drinking more and more and more. And it got to the point where it was drinking in the morning. It got to me hiding alcohol. It got to me just reactive parenting instead of actually parenting. It was just a really dark time, really, really dark time.
Okay. So I'm just going to pause for just a moment there. So there's a bunch of things that you just said in that. So the first thing that really went to me in the sense that I really resonate with that is I didn't feel needed anymore. Mm-hmm. So as a mother, through the motherhood journey, of course, we go through many, many chapters and many milestones, but was this the first time you're like, boom, my kids don't need me anymore?
Frick, it was the hardest time of my life. Okay. Because I had put all of my energy, it was for my kids mostly. Like all of it was for them. Everything I did was for them to make sure they had a really good life, and to not feel needed anymore was a big, big shock to me. Cause I thought it would always just be the way it was. So I went through grief. I went through some major grief at that point.
Okay. So not feeling needed and grief at the same time. And so Kalla, you would have been 15.
Yeah.
And so is your brother older or younger?
He's older. He's
23. So you were the youngest at 15. Okay. Got it. Okay. The baby. Okay. So now, Kalla, do you have a recollection of that time? And it's fine if you don't, but.
Yeah, I do. I think because the thing that you said was that, that you felt like we didn't need you and stuff like that. And obviously, like when you're a teenager, it's very true. Like you just want to go hang out with your friends and stuff like that. And then I think when you were grieving and you started drinking and stuff like that was when I needed her like the most, I'd say. So you felt like you weren't needed, but I felt like I needed you kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Well, for sure. So are you saying like the traditional teenage girl things, I need my mom type of situation? And Julie, you were okay. And so Julie, you were feeling like my kids don't need me.
Yeah. Totally.
Right.
Totally.
Okay. Okay. And so Julie, you had mentioned that the actual drinking patterns for you was that, there was a lot of drinking and drinking earlier in the day. Is that a fair recollection of what your experience was at the time?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And Kalla, what did you see any of that? Did you ever see your mom drinking at that time?
Yeah.
That you remember?
I think, yeah. So like when I started to get kind of like of the age where I could understand it, because I had always just been like, oh, like that's how she is and stuff like that. And then when I started to like actually realize, I think it was really tough because like she was my mom, but she like wasn't there kind of thing. Like I couldn't really connect with you, I don't think. So I think it was definitely tough to like see, like she would obviously be very different. And I'd go up to her and I'd be like, have you been drinking? And she would just deny the shit out of it. And I was like, I can smell it, but cool.
It's kind of a whole different thing when you get busted by your children.
Yeah.
Like when you get busted. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And certainly not to make light of the situation, but so I think, Julie, in an earlier conversation, I believe that you had mentioned to me that you didn't think your kids knew or knew to the extent of what was going on. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I really don't think they did. I think that they had an idea, but they didn't really realize how much. Because I know that even Kalla had said to me a few times, like, I could tell you've had a glass of wine. And I'd be like, oh, honey, I've had a bottle. Like, I don't
Did you
think
say that to her?
much. No, that was like what I was thinking in my head.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, I had a glass, but I don't think they realized how much I was drinking. I think they saw that I had drank. They didn't realize how much I could actually consume.
Okay. And so take us through it. So that's when it was kind of at its worst.
It was. And then I also had that trauma come up. So I had a whole lot of suppressed trauma at the same time that I was dealing with. So again, it was kind of like the trauma's way of being like, well, you don't have to worry about them anymore, but now it's my time to come up. So let's deal with this. And so it was like so bad. It was so bad. So I did try like trauma counseling and all of that as well, which didn't work because after trauma counseling, I'd go drink it away. Right. So it really wasn't helpful at all, but it was still dealing with all of that on top of the fact that the addiction was pretty forceful. Like it was in there hard.
Okay. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand the timeline. So you now have your youngest who you perceive to be at a place where she doesn't need you anymore. And to deal with that, your drinking increased. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what that looked like for you was drinking, of course, during the day, but in the evening, but also earlier and earlier in the day. So that also meant drinking in the morning.
I would have to take the shakes off. Like, I got to the point where I'd be like, I thought it was premenopause, to be quite honest, is I would be having like major night sweats at night. I'd have to change my clothes. I'd have like major anxiety and wake up like just gasping. And then the next morning I'd be shaky and I'd be like, oh my God, the only thing that can fix this is more alcohol. And so I'd have to have it like at least a little bit in the morning just to take the edge off. And then I would probably start as soon as I finished some work I got done, like at noon.
Right.
So yeah, but it would have to, I'd need it to even be able to function.
Yeah. I get that. Okay. So if that was you at your worst, what happened to get you to a place where it was time to stop? Actually, maybe the question before that is, everybody has that moment of sober curiosity, like, unless it's, court ordered, get sober today, there's this period of time where we're like, we recognize that we have the issue, but we may or may not be willing or ready or able to do something about it. So was there a moment of sober curiosity for you, or was it a very quick change?
There was previous times of sober curious for me. So I went through 4 months sober before I got married to my second husband, just to make sure I was making the right choice. But it was 4 months of sobriety because I knew that I had an issue. And I just didn't want to admit it was actually an issue with alcohol. It was more an issue like I want to fix it, right? I can fix this. I can control it. It's going to be okay. And then I would do little month cleanses just to reassure myself that it was okay and I could handle my alcohol. This time I couldn't stop. This time I could not stop. Kalla had moved in with her dad because she just didn't want to watch it anymore. I wasn't finding work. I had gotten laid off. Like the whole company had crashed. So it wasn't just, I didn't get laid off because of drinking. It was because of the fact that it was, the company failed and I was unemployed and I'm just lost, totally lost. And I could not stop. Like I honestly tried, but it just wouldn't work.
Okay. I hear that. And so Kalla, so Julie just said that you moved in with your dad at that time. And so can you tell us a little bit about what was going on for you?
Yeah, I think like it got really tough because I obviously I didn't really realize that you can't just tell somebody to stop drinking. Like I was like, oh, this is going to work.
Okay. So Kalla, you took it upon yourself to tell your mother that, and so what did you say? And did you say what you had probably practiced saying?
Oh yeah, lots. But I think because she would be like in her like room or something, and I'd come in and I'd be like, are you drinking? Like, are you serious? And I think I would get like very emotional about it instead of just saying it how it is. And then I would get really mad, stop drinking, and then that would make you mad. And then our relationship was really strained, and me and my mom have always been like tied at the hip, best friends and stuff like that. So yeah, I think our relationship got really strained. And then when I realized that she wasn't listening to me, because I was like, I need you, and she just wasn't there, so I would get upset. And then I moved in with my dad because I was like, I can't do it anymore. And I thought that might have been even like maybe motivation to get her to get better as well, was taking myself out of the picture, when in reality I think that made it worse for you.
So do you mind, Kalla, if we just dig a little bit deeper into this? And if you don't want to, that's totally fine, because what I think would be really helpful in what you're saying here is that if there are young women who are in your boat, they might identify with some of the feelings that you're having or were having at that time. And so I think it may be helpful to express some of those things, because I heard you say that you went into your mom's room and asked, are you drinking? And so how are you feeling? Or like, can you tell us more about what you're because I heard you say, are you drinking? But that doesn't necessarily guarantee that I'm going to understand how you're feeling. And I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, 100%. I always knew the answer, but I just wanted to see if she would ever admit it, kind of thing. And she never did.
Why did you need her to admit it?
I honestly don't know. I think it was like a clarity thing to make sure that like she was there, but I don't know. That's a really tough question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just more like if she admitted it, then I would know that there was at least something that I don't know how to put that into words. Sorry.
No, it's hard. It's hard to put into words. And I certainly don't want to put you on the spot. That is not the purpose of this time together. Just in some of the other conversations that I've had, I'll share with you some reflections, and maybe they'll ring for you, is that there was a certain level of accountability that the speaker wants the drinker to take.
Mm-hmm.
And that accountability can be like, hey, in your situation, maybe similar to this woman's situation, where she's saying, I don't know why you're not here for me, because I got things I want to tell you about my boyfriend. I want to tell you about whatever it is. I need help with it, whatever it is, but I don't feel I can talk to you.
Yeah, that's actually pretty spot on, because there was a lot of stuff that I had been going through. I think like those were probably the worst years for me mentally as well, and just not having my mom there was really difficult as well, because I had always been able to talk to my mom, and then when I would try still to talk to her about things, it just wouldn't be the same, or it would just be like a really quick answer, and I'd be like, well, that doesn't help at all. So I think just not having you there, and I think having the accountability I don't know if it would have helped. I just think I just wanted to know that you were aware of what you were doing, I think. I don't know if that made sense.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of us talk about we need, and this is also part of the forgiveness thing that we've talked about much, much later, not necessarily to do with this situation, is that there comes a point where we just want the other person to understand the weight to which they have hurt us, and we want them to understand that our feelings are a response to their actions. And sometimes we get that and sometimes we don't, and sometimes we get the forgiveness and sometimes we don't. And sometimes we want to forgive and sometimes we do not want to forgive, right? Okay, so that's where I was at that time. And so Julie, take us to the time, like the day or the moment or what it was for you where you just hit your rock enough or hit your rock bottom, or what was that? And so Kalla was not with you at the time.
Kalla was not. No, she was either with her dad or her friend Bella's. And it was morning-ish. And I remember I was honestly sitting at the desk at the window, and I had a glass of wine with me, and I had just previously the day before was drinking and trying to log why I kept drinking when I didn't want to. So I was actually in the process of trying to figure it out for myself. Like, I'm going to drink and I'm going to write about this and try and go back and look at it and see why I can't stop. Like, I could not figure this out for the life of me. And I couldn't intellectualize my way out of this one. You know, I couldn't think it through, and it pissed me right off. Anyway, but I was sitting at this desk and it was a beautiful sunny day and I had a glass of wine and I was just like, I can't fucking do this. I cannot do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked up the phone. It was 3 seconds of bravery. And it was just like higher power stuff. Just Christian, get me into the treatment center. I'll go. If you do it right now, I'll go.
And who did you call?
My husband.
Oh, you're kidding.
And I said, just do it, set it up, I'll go. And it was literally, he's like, okay, I'll call you right back. He phoned the treatment center I went to, got me in for the following Monday. That was a Friday. Oh, and he called back and he's like, you're going on Monday. And I'm like, okay. Got my butt to the liquor store, got me a bottle of red, white, and some champagne. And then I was going to treatment.
We are not advocating for getting drunk before treatment.
No, absolutely
we get
not.
it.
That's how sick you are. Like,
no,
that's
no.
how your brain is just, it takes over your life and you cannot do it.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's not rational. It
in a way makes no sense.
In a way, I think it's a lot like wedding dress shopping. Like, there's nothing logical about it. Like, the woman is going to buy the dress that she wants to buy. It has nothing to do with anything other than her emotional connection to it. And that is the exact same thing with wine. It's like, you cannot tell somebody not to drink. I mean, you can, but it's not going to yield any kind of positive result.
It had to be for myself. It had to be my choice, and it had to be on my timeline. Nobody else.
Can you say that one more time?
It had to be for myself, and it had to be my decision, and it had to be on my own timeline.
Okay. We're just going to repeat this one more time.
Okay. Had to be my choice. It had to be my decision, and it had to be on my own timeline.
The reason why I asked you to repeat that 3 times is there's a lot of women that I talk to that are white knuckling their sobriety journeys. And in being a witness to these women who are white knuckling, the clear as day theme that I see in their experience is that they are not doing it for themselves. They are doing it for their kids. They are doing it for their husband. They are doing it for every reason other than themselves. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here, and I'm probably going to piss some people off, and I don't mean to, but I'm trying to be honest for the purposes of helping people, is that we need to not do it for other people, because that gives us a reason not to take accountability for ourselves.
True. And it also will create resentment towards the other person. So
just blame.
It is. And it's just not worth either of those things. And honestly, if the person suddenly pisses you off, then you will revenge drink. It's guaranteed. It's going to happen. I've tried it. I've done it. I've experimented the shit out of it.
Yeah.
You only can do it for yourself. Only you.
I'm so glad you said that. And I've heard so many people say that. And like you, I had the same situation. I mean, I tried to stop 6 times before it actually worked. And I had periods of sobriety as well. But it wasn't until I had my rock enough moment, and it had to be for me, because then you can't blame anybody. And there's this speaking of the accountability thing, there just comes a point where like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want this for myself anymore. And I am responsible for my own shit.
Right. And I think it was a big part of it for me too, it was a realization. It was hard. Trust me. But it was it's not everybody else. Like,
I remember being in my kitchen telling my teapot that I hated it. I hate you, teapot. I hate you, teacup. I hate you, coffee machine. I hate you, tea towel. It's not the tea towel's fault.
No,
it's my fault.
It's all you.
I put it
right.
Right. And and the thing that we need to be mindful of is that we are not necessarily responsible for the events that have happened in our lives that have required us to use alcohol to cope, but we are sure responsible to use the right coping mechanism so that we don't cause further damage to ourselves and those in our wake.
Exactly.
Okay. So fast forward. So here we are. So now it's Monday morning. Off we go to rehab. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So what was that like?
That was the scariest moment of my life. And I could honestly say, without a doubt, when I went in there, I remember saying goodbye to Christian, and I just like was like, can't leave. Like, you have to leave me here. But I wanted to, but it was so hard to say goodbye. And just like, I'm here by myself. And it was so horrifying. Like, it was so incredibly scary. But I did it, and I got through it. And I knew that rehab and treatment were my end game. So I knew this was my goodbye to alcohol. I knew it, because for me, I was not going to put myself through all of that and then leave there and drink again. So I promised myself, I'm doing all the work. I'm throwing myself into whatever they tell me to do. I am fully surrendering to whatever they tell me to do. And I did it.
See, again, I think this is a really important point, is that we cannot get to the other side of anything with one foot in the door. If we are trying to walk forward and we're dragging one foot behind us, you can't move forward because there's no forward trajectory. And so we need to put 2 feet in.
You need to put 2 feet in, sit your ass down, and stay there.
Okay, you can do that too.
You just gotta like sit right in it and just
Well,
like.
this is what I talk about this too. I call it sitting in the shit. Like, it is extremely uncomfortable. Nobody wants to go through this.
Yeah.
Nobody. But it's when we sit in the shit and learn how to sit in the discomfort of our own emotions, are we able to deal with it in a positive way so that we can show up for the people in our lives, considering Kallas of our lives, who are like, hey, mom, where are you? Right?
Exactly.
So Kalla, where were you in all of this journey while your mom was going to rehab?
I remember she called me. I don't remember if it was on the Friday or if it was on your way to treatment. I'm pretty sure it was on her way to treatment. She's like, I'm going to get help. Okay, bye. And I was like, all right. No, I think it was you and Christian, and you were crying your brains out, being like, I'm going to get help. And I remember, because there had been multiple occasions where she would be like sober from like for a month or for a few weeks or something like that. So I kind of was like, okay, we'll see. I didn't have full trust in it. And it was at a period of time where I think I had a lot of resentment because you weren't there. And I had been living with my dad, so I hadn't been talking to my mom a lot. And then when you had left, and I wasn't able to like talk to you for that whole week, because I think the first week you had to do like,
you couldn't make any phone calls.
Because you were coming off and stuff, right? Yeah. So that kind of sunk in. I was like, oh, she's actually like going to get help. And then fast forward like a few months, a month.
Treatment.
Was it a month?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. My stepdad had said, we're going to the treatment center to go visit your mom. And I was like, I can't get it off work. I was like, I do not want to go see her, whatever, because I don't know why I was under the impression that you would be drunk at the treatment center.
Okay, so sorry. Yeah, I just want to stop there. So why did you not want to go and see your mom when she was at rehab?
I just thought it would be really hard for me to see her in a rehab center, even though I don't know. But some part of me, I guess, was like, oh no, I have to go. So then I went with my stepdad, and we went to go see my mom, and she was my mom again. And I was just like crying tears of like joy, because I was like, oh my God, where have you been? And it was so like, I would have been so disappointed in myself had I not gone to go see her.
That was a family meeting they had at Edgewood, where they brought in your family, or you would normally do it by phone call, and your family got to tell you how your drinking affected them. So I was not looking forward to family meeting day, and I didn't actually know when it was going to be. Yeah. They just surprised you with it. But I told my counselor, I need my family meeting face to face. I need to see their faces when they tell me what I've done to them or how I affected them. I need it face to face. And so they told Christian that, and he made sure he brought Kalla. And so I sat while I listened. I wasn't allowed to speak through the whole thing, and just listened to the effects that my disease had on them. So yeah.
Well, because the day before was like family visiting day.
Yeah.
So that was fine. And then the next day
Was the day that
was that day.
yeah.
And that was hard for, I think, everybody involved.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
emotional questions. So Julie, so this happened a month. So this meeting where you learned about how your drinking had affected the people in your life, you learned about that face to face a month into your rehab.
Mhm.
Okay. And Kalla, when you went to go and see your mom, what was your communication with her in that 1 month period before?
How often were you allowed to call?
Like I probably talked to them every 2 days, and I only had 10-minute phone calls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
that
it was
was it.
tight. It was really tight.
Very tight. Yeah, hardly at
Okay.
all. Like as much as we possibly could.
Okay.
But not a
And
lot.
so in that meeting, Kalla, do you feel that you got out everything that you wanted to say?
100%. Yeah. I
That's
think
great.
at the start of it, because I had no idea what to expect from it
Mhm,
going into it. And then the counselor obviously guided us through it.
mhm.
And you had called me a few days before we came to the rehab center, and you're like, I want you to be harsh. I want you to say everything. I don't want you to hold back.
Mhm.
And I didn't, I don't think at all.
Yeah, I was like, when they ask you to do
Wow.
this, please be sure that you just full honesty and tell me everything, and it's okay. You're
Oh,
safe. Yeah.
See, I want to take a moment because so Julie, that's a tough spot. It's a tough chair to sit in, that one. That one's a tough chair to sit in. But Kalla, at the same time, it takes a lot of courage and vulnerability to tell your mom everything that you want to say. And so it really shows a lot of strength, both of you, for how you showed up for each other in that moment. It's a testament to your strong bond, for sure. For sure. So you had that moment. Oh God, to be a fly on the wall of that one. Okay. And so did anything surprise you in that, Julie, that you heard? No.
No, actually, yeah. One thing surprised me is that she said I was her superhero. She's like, my mom has always been my superhero. And I was just like, you still have nice things to say about me. Like it was
Okay.
like, oh my gosh. It just oh,
well, yeah, because I think the
That-
part of that was I have a lot of trouble saying how I really feel, because I'm very I don't want to I kind of beat around the bush because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So when she told me, she was like, you have to be straight up, and I was. And I think the way that I had explained it was that my mom had always been my superhero, and then all of a sudden she wasn't there, and I was like, where's my freaking superhero? I need my mom. And yeah, so that's kind of where that.
And so that was
came from.
yeah, that was I was surprised. I thought it was all going to be
bit.
bad. And it reminded me that I did actually do some good. So that made me feel a little bit better. It was surprised me how forgiving they were, because I had been telling myself so many opposite things while I was
Mhm.
there. So yeah, but they were very loving and very supportive of me.
Kalla,
Yeah,
that's
all
really
the stuff I
beautiful.
knew, I knew all the bad stuff she was going to say. I had a really good idea.
Well, of course you did, because there's nobody meaner to us than ourselves.
Well, we're so mean. Yeah.
Right. But even saying that, I can't imagine what it would be like to hear something kind.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
Kindness wins every time.
every single time.
Okay. So fast forward. So then you complete your program.
Mhm.
And how long was your program? 3 months.
It was 50 days.
Sorry?
50 days.
Okay, great.
So just shy of a month, yeah.
So you did that. So you complete the program, you leave the program. Were you scared to leave the program?
Yeah, I was terrified
course.
actually. I didn't know how to go back home. I really didn't. So I did it was called a healing separation, where I went and I got a condo for myself, and I stayed there just so that my husband can learn how not to police me, and I can learn how to live alcohol free without feeling like he was judging me.
How long were you there?
I was there for about 2 months.
Oh,
And then decided
nice.
to go back home. Yeah. And then it was COVID when I got out, right? So it was we couldn't see people anyways or any of that stuff. So yeah,
Worked out well.
Oh God, the COVID sober babies. I think we actually got a good deal.
we got such a good deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, right? We did. Yeah. I didn't have to worry about socializing. We didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. And it was just, I took care of myself for those
Yeah.
2 months.
Okay. And so you're like 2.5 years sober-ish, maybe more than that. What is your relationship like with Kalla now for you, Julie?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she's my favorite hangout buddy. Like we spend so much time together when we get to see each other. Like she lives in Vancouver and I'm in Kelowna, but when we get to see each other, it's just like I just want to be with her like all the time. Like we really get each other and we rely on each other and we hang out, and it's just the greatest thing ever. I call her to say stupid things, and we're like excited to like plan vacations and trips and all these fun things and adventures together. It's awesome. It's like I have my kid back. So yeah, it's so good. It's just so good.
And Kalla, same question. So your relationship with your mom?
Yeah. It's really nerdy, but my mom is my best friend in the entire world. Like I spend the most time with my mom, which is funny because we don't live close to each other anymore. But yeah, no, I think our relationship is honestly the best it's ever been because we're both we have a lot in common, but we have a lot of differences, but we communicate, because that's the most important part is like, she's like, tell me how you're feeling. Like she'll know immediately when something's wrong. So we both, and I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I think we communicate really well, and yeah, it's the best. I love my mom. I call her all the time. Probably call her almost every day, which is good. Call your mom. But
I know. My mom is my godson. So, Julie, so then your relationship with yourself, how has that changed?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to go there. I'm much kinder to myself. But I have to catch it. I'm really good at catching the negative voice in my head because let's be clear, we always do that, right? But I have to be really gentle. I'm really kind. I give myself time. I give myself forgiveness. I give myself grace. Yeah, and I don't look in the mirror in pure hatred anymore, which is actually kind of nice, because I used to look at myself and just be like, you're disgusting, you're horrible, you're awful, you're mean, you're terrible, like all those things. I couldn't stand even looking at the person that I was looking at, and now I don't do that. So it's so really funny. Nice.
I had the exact same experience. I did the exact same thing.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Okay, Kalla, how has your relationship with yourself changed during this time of having witnessed your mother go through such a change herself?
I think it's inspiring. I tell my mom all the time because I think the sober thing, like you've been doing a lot more than you would have done if you weren't. And it's been like a huge inspiration to me because she's set a really good example of self-love and doing the things that she wants to and putting herself first, because I'm really bad with that. I put others first most of the time. But you've showed me kind of that, I think. So yeah, self-love and stuff like that. But
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So final words.
I think it's really hard to realize for people what they're doing to their families, especially with the kids. And I think that that's where it really hits me hard, is like with the mommy wine culture and things like that, is that we don't realize how much damage we're doing, self-esteem wise, stuff like that. For Kalla, I know it affected her completely. And having to hide what your family's like is not really a good feeling for somebody young either. I wish I never put her through that. I wish that me now, the person that I am, would have never done that to my kids. I just think that people really need to know when they're looking at it, what's going on.
I know. I'm so glad that you both have joined me to talk about this, because we spend a lot of time as women talking to each other about our experiences, and it's rare that we are fortunate enough, Kalla, to have someone in your shoes share your side of the experience. We hear all the time. We value your vulnerability and your honesty, and we certainly wish you the very best for you. I can't imagine what a wonderful woman you will continue to be with that kind of core value of honesty and vulnerability. You must be so proud, Julie.
I'm so proud. So proud.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today on the Shamegrila podcast. She Walks Canada can be found at shewalkscanada.com, where we continue to provide support for women in and seeking alcohol-reduced or alcohol-free lives. We can and do recover together. I'm Lindsay Sutherland Boal.